Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Movie Nights movie review. Today, we are talking about Speak No Evil. This is the latest film that trailer has plagued us all every time we go to the movie theater, but it is finally out. And is the movie better than the trailer? Short answer, yes. I'm going to let Nicholas go first on this one because while we're both positive on the movie, he's a little bit more positive than me. But overall, very good movie. Nicholas, I'm going to let you take the reins, buddy. Go first.
Yeah, it's a reverse Argyle where the trailer was annoying, but the movie was actually decent. Yeah, this is a remake of a 2022 Danish movie, so really quick turnaround time on that. I have not seen the original. I am interested in it. Having seen this one, I did look up the original's ending because I was just curious. It is wildly different than the movie here, which is a very interesting thing, especially if you're a fan of the first one, just to see, they're not retreading the same needle. I think that this movie does one, it's just a very interesting, gripping story. It's a mystery that you're sort of just unraveling throughout, what's really going on here. The tension build up. I was on the edge of my seat, just tight the whole time and the payoff, the release, the third act, all just sort of everything builds up and ramps toward this sort of explosive ending, which I think the payoff of the movie is interesting. My biggest gripes with the movie, and I think the movie in a sense is self aware of it, is just why these people don't leave at any point, and the movie makes a point of having things happen that sort of force them to stay, but not enough that you're like, no, any reasonable person would overlook this and get the fuck out of there. But I think the movie kind of plays with that in humorous ways a little bit. Movie's got a movie at the end of the day. But I think the performances from everyone were fantastic. Mainly James McAvoy, who carries the movie, who I think gives the best performance in the movie. He's unsettling. He's likable at times. He does what they want the character to do very well. And same thing with Mackenzie Davis's performance. I think she did a phenomenal job playing this, mother who, they're going through the marital issues and just this woman who's just sort of trying to keep it all together and all of this stuff keeps happening. I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, no, very interesting breakdown. Where I'll agree with you about the standouts being Mackenzie Davis and James McAvoy. I mean, they were the highlights of the movie, especially McAvoy. Amazing performance. I mean, he's just such an amazing actor. Also, I have also not seen the original film, so if anyone's looking for a comparison type review, sorry, we have not seen it. But um, I think my biggest issue with the movie, I'll kind of go negatives first, is you said movies got a movie, which is true, but this movie does it a lot.
Yeah.
And there are situations where it kind of just fell into a lot of tropes that I think only work if you are fully bought into the situation. And there were times where I just wasn't. Like you mentioned a couple times, like it's like, okay, this is a red flag that they need to fucking leave. And I won't give it away, but there's a MacGuffin in the movie that keeps having them go back. And while the MacGuffin is set up, like it is set up early in the film, that doesn't mean that you have to buy that it works for you in the story. And there were a couple times where I'm like, specifically one sequence where I'm like, I don't care. This does not work for me. Like the sequence does not work for me. Um, Other than that, I think the only negatives I have were I thought that the beginning of the film was a bit rushed, the first act, and in a good sense, like you said, movies got a movie where they have to get to, them being isolated.
Hmm.
It did. I wish I'd spent more time with both the main couple that we follow and the James McAvoy couple. It would have been just an interesting dynamic to see and to kind of live in those scenes.
Hmm.
Um, my and one more negative, and I promise I like the movie. But another thing is Scoot McNairy's character. And I'll use this to transition into positives. Scoot McNairy's character is very well written in terms of his character arc, but there are scenes in the movie where, clearly as one of the leads and as someone who the movie at the end of the day wants you to want them to escape, it was hard to want him to escape. Like he was just such a terrible father. Like this,
Yeah,
he straight up hates his kid. Like the whole
I
movie,
think
he hates his kid.
I think he played the role a little too, I don't want to say depressed is the right word, but even like these types of things where you see him having joy,
Hmm.
he just felt like overly sad, and the way he spoke
Yeah,
the whole movie, even when he was excited.
yeah. No, no, you definitely have a point there, but also like I think there was a way to do his arc the way they do it without making him so unrootable, if that makes sense. Like there are times at the end where I'm like, honestly, if they get him, I wouldn't hate it. Like if he doesn't make it out, I wouldn't
Well,
hate it.
because it seemed like the movie really wanted to play this like dichotomy. They really wanted to see the difference between James McAvoy and Scoot McNairy and why
Right.
Scoot McNairy's character wants to be like James McAvoy, but I felt like he was too different of a character. Like, even at the end of the day, you can't see that character turning into someone like this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in the movie, like it tries to do a commentary on like toxic masculinity, and I think it handles that decently. It was just you can handle that without making the character like such a an unlikable person when the goal is to root for this character to win. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that they just didn't nail that dynamic.
Because
But
it's like I found myself rooting more for Mackenzie Davis than him,
100%.
and it felt like the movie wanted me more to focus on him.
Yes, and exactly. The movie wanted you to focus on him, but the focus kind of should have been on Mackenzie Davis, who does a lot of the heavy lifting in the third act. But with that being said, going into positives, I really like that the couple we follow in the movie is not a perfect couple. Like they clearly have issues. It feels like a real couple. Like they felt
Mhm.
like they didn't just feel like, oh, here's the antagonist, here's the protagonist. They felt very deep. And it, while you're on this journey with them, you kind of see why they would almost kind of it's kind of like being gullible in terms of just you want something to go right so badly, whatever. Like in the beginning of the film, they handled that quite well. It's when it gets later where it gets a little shaky.
Well, I think when
Um,
they actually start delving into what's going on with them, because the whole movie you're kind of just like, there's something off with these two,
yeah,
and I'm talking about like Scoot McNairy and
yeah,
Mackenzie
yeah,
Davis, and
mhm.
you're just like, I don't know what. And then when they finally reveal it, I'm like, oh, okay, that explains all of that. I wish they introduced that earlier because
Yeah,
it wasn't necessarily a reveal that needed to happen that late in the movie, nor did it need to be a reveal. It's more just character backstory.
mhm.
But I think that would have like the beginning. I was just sort of like, what are they? What is this dynamic? What's going on? But the movie didn't lead you necessarily to believe that there were issues.
Yeah, and I think to my point earlier, like if we had more time in the beginning of the movie, I think they could have established that really well. But regardless, positives. Um, the chemistry with all four of them, I thought really worked. Like when you wanted to feel tension, you felt tension. When you wanted to feel awkward, you felt awkward. When it wanted to be funny, it was funny. There are great bits in the movie.
It was oddly comical at times that
Yeah,
I was not expecting, which I think was a really good balance of that tension relief.
yeah. And some of the humor was just uncomfortable humor. Like it was almost cringe funny. Where
Purposefully, though. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Where in that type of story, you normally wouldn't see that, but it was handled really well. I do like the third act of the movie a lot. You know when you watch the movie, like, okay, this is building up to something, and what it builds up to was really interesting, and I thought that it came to fruition interestingly. Uh, and overall, again, I think the movie's really good, and where it really shines is its tension. I think it builds tension really, really well. And I mentioned the shortcomings earlier, but at the end of the day, I think it was our friend Mauricio who said it best. It was a thriller, and I was thrilled. And I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, that's exactly what it is.
That's
And
fair.
he nailed it. And so yeah, I enjoyed the film. I think it's good. Slightly less than people in our friend group, but it's not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination. It's there are a couple things that I think prevent it from being great, but I'd watch it again. I thought it was a really decent thriller film, and it did make me want to
Yeah.
watch the original. I do
I
want to
think
go
I want to
back.
go back and watch the original before I
Yeah,
watch this one.
yeah, me too. Me too. I definitely want to watch the original film for sure, for sure. But Yeah, do you have any final thoughts, my guy?
No, I think that about covers it on my end.
Yeah, great. Well, positives over here, just to
Mhm.
varying levels. But what did you guys think? I'd love to see your comments and thoughts on the movie below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.